What's up, Wrestle Scope Nation? And hold on, before you even think about scrolling past this video, I need you to hear something that's going to make your blood absolutely boil. Tony Khan just pulled off the most disrespectful booking decision in AEW history on Christmas Day. And I'm about to expose exactly what went down at Collision on December 25th, 2025 that has the entire wrestling world divided right now. We've got Kazuchika Okada being set up for a match at World's End that nobody asked for, Jon Moxley continuing his controversial reign of terror, and Mark Briscoe crossing a line with Toni Storm that has fans calling for suspensions. And the worst part? AEW is acting like this is all normal. Hello viewers, if you're new here, please don't forget to like and hit the subscribe button for daily updates on WWE Raw. The Okada disrespect. Let me start with the match announcement that has me absolutely furious. And if you're a fan of real professional wrestling, this should make you angry too. Tony Khan, yes, Tony Khan, just announced that Kazuchika Okada, the Rainmaker, the man who main evented the Tokyo Dome 6 times, the man who had a 7-star match with Kenny Omega, is being thrown into a match with Konosuke Takeshita at World's End like he's some mid-card talent fighting for relevance. Now, before the Takeshita fans come at me in the comments, and trust me, I know you're out there, let me be crystal clear. Konosuke Takeshita is talented, he's athletic, he's got potential, but is he on Okada's level? Is he even in the same stratosphere as the Rainmaker? Absolutely not. This is the same Kazuchika Okada who carried New Japan Pro Wrestling on his back for nearly a decade. The same Okada who had legendary feuds with Hiroshi Tanahashi, Kenny Omega, Tetsuya Naito, and Minoru Suzuki. The same Okada who held the IWGP Heavyweight Championship for 720 days. That's almost 2 years, people. And now AEW is booking him like he's just another guy on the roster. Let me tell you exactly what happened at Collision that led to this match, and you tell me if this makes any sense whatsoever. Okada came out during the Christmas Day show, already questionable that they're even running a show on Christmas, but that's a discussion for another video, and he cut a promo about wanting to remind everyone why he's the standard of professional wrestling. Fair enough, right? The man's a legend, he should be reminding people. But then out of nowhere, here comes Konosuke Takeshita with Don Callis, because of course Don Callis is involved, and they start running down Okada, saying he's past his prime, saying he's been irrelevant since coming to AEW, saying that the American audience doesn't care about his Tokyo Dome matches. Now, the Takeshita-Callis partnership has been interesting, I'll give them that. The Callis family angle has had some good moments, but to have them completely bury one of the greatest wrestlers of this generation, that's not building heat, that's just disrespectful booking. And here's where it gets even worse. Instead of Okada just destroying Takeshita right there, which is what should have happened, Tony Khan books this as a competitive angle. Takeshita gets in Okada's face, they have a pull-apart brawl, and then Khan books the match for World's End like these two are on the same level. Let me ask you something, Wrestle Scope Nation. When's the last time you saw Okada in a meaningful storyline in AEW? When's the last time he was positioned as the main event talent he actually is? I'll wait. The answer is never. AEW signed one of the biggest names in wrestling history, and they've done absolutely nothing with him. He's had good matches. Of course he's had good matches. He's Okada. But where's the storytelling? Where's the character development? Where's the respect for his legacy? And now AEW is feeding him to Takeshita in what I can only assume is Tony Khan's attempt to make a new star by having him go over a legend. We've seen this playbook before, and it never works the way they think it will. You don't build new stars by tearing down established legends, you build new stars by having them rise to the level of those legends through compelling storytelling and hard-fought victories that feel earned. This match at World's End, it feels like a random matchmaker booking from a video game, not a carefully crafted storyline from a professional wrestling promotion. And the worst part, the absolute worst part, is that nobody in AEW management seems to understand that Okada isn't just another wrestler. He's a generational talent. He's the kind of wrestler that comes around once every 20 years. Comment down below right now. Do you think AEW is wasting Kazuchika Okada? Yes or no? Because I want to hear from you, the fans who actually care about wrestling legacy and proper booking. Moxley's controversial reign. Alright, now let's talk about the other major story from Collision that has the wrestling world completely divided. Jon Moxley retaining the AEW World Championship in the most controversial fashion possible. And before the Moxley fans start typing their angry comments, save it. I'm about to lay out the facts, and facts don't care about your feelings. Jon Moxley defended his AEW World Championship on Christmas night against Powerhouse Hobbs in what was advertised as a no-holds-barred match. Sounds exciting, right? Sounds like we're about to get a hard-hitting, brutal contest that shows why Moxley is the champion. Wrong. What we got instead was 15 minutes of interference, run-ins, and booking that made absolutely no sense. Let me walk you through this train wreck step by step because you need to understand just how bad this was. The match starts off strong, I'll give them that. Moxley and Hobbs are throwing hands, it's stiff, it's brutal, it's exactly what a no-holds-barred match should be. Hobbs is dominating the early portions, making Moxley look vulnerable, which is smart booking because it creates drama and makes you believe the title could actually change hands. But then, here comes the Blackpool Combat Club. Bryan Danielson hobbles out on his injured leg, Claudio Castagnoli is right behind him, and they start interfering on Moxley's behalf. Now hold on, isn't Moxley supposed to be this tough guy who doesn't need help? Isn't he supposed to be this real fighter who can win matches on his own merit? Why does he need the entire BCC to help him retain against one man? But it gets worse. Just when you think, okay, maybe Hobbs' allies will even the odds, what happens? The Death Riders, Marina Shaffer and whoever else Tony Khan decides is in that faction this week, they come out too. Now we've got a complete cluster of people at ringside and the actual wrestling match has become secondary to the faction warfare. Powerhouse Hobbs is fighting off multiple people while trying to wrestle the champion. How is that fair? How is that good booking? How does that make anyone look good? Moxley ends up winning with the Death Rider DDT, his finish, but only after Claudio hit Hobbs with a European uppercut while the referee was conveniently distracted. So let me get this straight. The AEW World Champion, the man who's supposed to be the best wrestler in the company, the man who represents AEW as its top champion, needs multiple people to interfere for him to beat Powerhouse Hobbs? What kind of message does that send? It makes Moxley look weak, it makes Hobbs look like a fool for not having backup, and it makes AEW look like they don't know how to book a clean finish. And here's the thing that really grinds my gears. Jon Moxley is talented enough to have great matches without all this nonsense. We've seen him do it in WWE, we've seen him do it in New Japan, we've seen him do it in the independents. But for some reason, AEW has decided that every single Moxley title defense needs to be overbooked with run-ins and interference and controversial finishes. What does that do? It devalues the championship. The AEW World Championship should be the most prestigious title in the company. It should be defended in matches where the best wrestler wins because they're the best, not because they had more friends at ringside. And don't even get me started on the post-match promo. Moxley gets on the microphone and starts talking about how he's the real champion and how he doesn't care what anyone thinks and how he's going to hold this title forever. Brother, if you don't care what anyone thinks, why do you need 5 people to help you win your matches? The cognitive dissonance is astounding. Look, I get what AEW is trying to do. They're trying to build Moxley as this anti-hero heel who plays by his own rules. That can work. We've seen it work with characters like Stone Cold Steve Austin and CM Punk. But here's the difference. Those guys were strong characters who won their matches even if they used unconventional methods. Moxley isn't coming across as strong. He's coming across as a champion who can't win without help, and that's a problem. Tell me in the comments, are you tired of the Blackpool Combat Club / Death Riders interference in every Moxley match? Because I know I'm not alone in this frustration. The Briscoe Storm controversy. Alright, now we need to talk about the segment that has social media absolutely exploding right now, and this one is wild, folks. Mark Briscoe and Toni Storm, a kiss on Christmas Day on national television, and the internet is having a complete meltdown about it. Let me give you the context first, because this didn't just happen out of nowhere, even though it feels like it happened out of nowhere because AEW's storytelling has been all over the place lately. For the past few weeks, we've been seeing this odd friendship developing between Mark Briscoe and Toni Storm. It started innocently enough. Mark was being the fun-loving, energetic character he always is, and Toni Storm and her timeless gimmick has been doing her classic Hollywood starlet character. They had some backstage segments that were actually pretty entertaining. Mark would do his intense promos, and Toni would respond in her old Hollywood accent, and it was quirky and different, and honestly, it was working. But then AEW decided to take it to the next level at Collision. Here's what happened. Toni Storm had a match with, and I'm not even making this up, Saraya. The match was fine, nothing spectacular, but Toni won clean with the Storm Zero. Good for her, right? She's getting momentum, she's building her character, everything's going well. Mark Briscoe comes out to celebrate with her after the match. He's got the ROH World Championship with him, he's doing his signature energy, he's hyping up Toni Storm, and the crowd is actually into it because it's such an unusual pairing. Then, and this is where it gets controversial, as they're celebrating in the ring, Mark Briscoe, caught up in the moment, plants a kiss on Toni Storm. Now, let me be very clear about what happened next, because the internet is already spinning this in 1,000 different directions. Toni Storm looks surprised. Not angry, not upset, but definitely surprised. She kind of laughed it off, stayed in character, and then they both continued celebrating. It didn't look non-consensual, it didn't look forced, it looked like an impromptu moment between two characters who have been building a friendship. But of course, the wrestling internet cannot just let something be what it is. Within minutes, Twitter or X or whatever we're calling it now, exploded with people having completely opposite reactions. Half the internet is saying, this is inappropriate. You can't just kiss someone on television without establishing clear consent in the storyline. This is 2025, not 1985. AEW should know better. The other half of the internet is saying everyone needs to calm down. This is professional wrestling. These are trained performers working a storyline. You're getting worked and you don't even realize it. And here's where I'm going to give you my take, and some of you are not going to like it. I think this is a worked controversy. Think about it. AEW knew this would get people talking. They knew that a surprising kiss between two characters on Christmas Day would generate social media engagement. They knew people would have strong opinions about it. This is exactly the kind of controversy that wrestling promotions create to get people invested in storylines. Now, does that make it good booking?
That's a different question. Personally, I think it's a risky move that could backfire. Here's why. In 2025, audiences are more aware than ever about consent, appropriate workplace behavior, and the messages that entertainment sends. Wrestling has historically had a terrible track record with romantic storylines. We all remember the Katie Vick incident. We all remember the Billy and Chuck wedding. We all remember countless examples of wrestling doing romance poorly. AEW had an opportunity to do something different. They could have built this friendship between Mark and Toni into a wholesome, supportive partnership where two talented wrestlers help each other succeed. Instead, they went for the shock value kiss that has people arguing about whether it was appropriate. And here's the thing. Whether you think it was fine or whether you think it was problematic, we can all agree that it's generating conversation. AEW is getting exactly what they wanted. People are talking about Collision. But at what cost? Is short-term social media engagement worth potentially alienating viewers who are uncomfortable with unexpected romantic gestures being perceived as acceptable? Is it worth the think pieces and the debates and the backlash? That's a question AEW management needs to answer. And let's talk about the characters involved. Mark Briscoe has been one of the most beloved figures in wrestling history. He and his brother Jay, rest in peace, were tag team legends. Mark has been carrying that legacy beautifully, and fans have